Alright, good morning to you all. I was having a little look through eBay yesterday and I realised that, as I've always said in the past, lamps, telephones, possibly my plants as well, are better than money in the bank. Now the reason I say this they have there's a couple of those on this up for sale for what I call silly money. Over £100, I believe, in one case. The other one was not much less. And one of them, the electrode in the middle had obviously taken a knock, and it was to one side with glass shards inside the actual envelope where the damage had been made. That one did look okay as regards usage. Another one of these was virtually black. Anyhow, what I'm getting at is how things have changed. Now, this one's quite an early one. You can see it's pip top. Ceiling's done at the top. The name is written, if I can find it. The problem is a lot of these names get faint. It's actually on the side there. I'll read it out. It's Osglim, and it shows our voltage as well. I'm not going to plug it in. A lot of these early ones were made without a resistor, so if you had plugged it in and turned it on, they would have exploded and you'd have lost a lamp, and it seems a lot of money now. How much this one would cost, I don't know. This has got the pip top, which is a very early one. Virtually, well, it's never been used. Nicely arranged. The beehive, as that's often called, is nice and straight. It's not damaged in any way. No loose shards of glass inside. Just a well-made lamp. The reason the cap was this style was this held a wire-wound resistor, and that was in there. Okay, I'm saying some weren't with a resistor. They still use the same cap, so be very wary if you have got an unknown one of these. Either bring it up very slowly with the old variac, or wire it in series with a high value resistor, or a low wattage lamp like a 15 watt sine type bulb or something like that, so you're going to reduce the actual current flow, because without that the current builds up suddenly and these shatter. Much to my upset many years ago, as a kid, I picked up one of these where it was in a radio, and I thought, that's strange. Why is a neon lamp in a radio? Well, I didn't know what it was for. Anyway, I thought, well, I'll try this out. So I unplugged it. I can't remember now whether it was screw base or valve base. I think it was valve base. I took it out and connected it up to the mains, and it went bang. Glass everywhere. So I soon learnt my lesson. It was actually used as a voltage stabiliser in a very old radio. So I was very upset about that. I've got several more now that are in the collection that were used for such a reason. They've got a screw base. So I do say, make sure there's a resistor incorporated with it. Now these I can remember well, not the pip top one, but when they were a normal type of lamp where the sealing was done in the normal way and the gas put in. So that was after the pips, probably going back to the 1950s, where good electrical shops that sold lamps, all kinds of electrical stuff, plugs, sockets, wire, you name it, they sold it, plus a good array of lamps. You could find one of these and they cost then about 4 shillings and 5 pence, I think it was. Why it was 5 pence, I don't know, but 4 shillings and 5 pence, that is in the old money. Now, as I say, you're lucky enough to pick the odd one up off of eBay, you might have to pay £100 for. So yeah, money on these is obviously worth more than money in the bank. Anyhow, enough said about the beehive one. They're 5 watts, by the way. I won't show it a light. I've probably got ones up there that I have shown a light in the past. The metal used is nickel iron. For some unknown reason, that seems to be a good metal that doesn't wear away or get, I think it's called spluttering. It's where on usage the metal is deposited on the glass. Hence the reason after many hours of use the glass will slowly darken down, and when they're really old the glass looks black. And the centre electrode, which is a disc, is held, it has one wire going up there. In this case it's in a glass tube, and then it shows the wire and the disc. Now, after years of usage, that bit of metal that shows just above the glass tube wears away to like 2 little needles. They get that close, and eventually that disc drops off, or it bends round to one side. And I remember finding one of these, might have been at the boot sale, I can't remember, probably before boot sales, where the lamp was black and this disc was virtually on its side. Instead of being horizontal, it was vertical, and the wire was as thin as anything, so a slight knock, you'd have lost the disc. So that's what happens with age. So if you've got one of these lamps, I would definitely say don't use it, keep it. It's an investment, definitely an investment. Now, leaving this one, we've got another type. Now these are rare. Well, I say rare, good old expression, rare as hen's teeth, as they normally say. I've only seen another one of these, which I've got upstairs. This one has the, I don't know if it shows up, the Siemens name. With the way they print their name, the linked S's, Siemens. That was Siemens Brothers in England. They were brothers that were brothers of the German Siemens. Also, the other one I've got on of this type has the Crompton name on it. I think it was Crompton. Whether these were made by Siemens or made by Osglim, I don't know. But here you've got 2 electrodes replacing the beehive, and they both light up with this typical red. Once again, same comments. Make sure they are mains voltage. This one, I think it is, I think I wrote on there years ago. 240 volt Siemens GB. They're 5 watt, or that's what they say they are. Once again, same type of cap to house the wire wound resistor, possibly using Eureka wire, I don't know, but it's obviously a resistance wire. And this one is not a pip top. The evacuation's done in the normal place. You can see the little hole there, and it's evacuated by a little tube that comes out and is sealed. So that's the two that what I'm talking about today. A very good, well, they were a very good investment. God knows how many of these I've got. Well, no, I've only got the two of that one. Well, I've got several beehives, continental ones, English ones. I'll tell you a little story. Many years ago, I was lucky enough to go to my favourite boot sale at Wimbledon. And there was a gentleman there, glad I got there in time, had some antique, well, they were antique fittings and old antique, if you like, lamps. And more than one. And I looked at them, I said to him, can you do me a deal on these? I'll take all of them off you. Can you give me a figure? He said, I've got them all at home. I said, right, well, I'll have those as well. Give me a figure and I'll have them off you. Now remember, this is going back a few years. The collecting of lamps was not so popular then as they are now. I know someone else in front of me bought one of the lamps which had a lovely carbon filament bulb in it, but I can't be greedy. Mustn't be greedy. Anyhow, when I paid my money, I was given a good sized box of lamps, a very good sized box, and when I got them home, some of them were in wrappers still. They were mainly different voltage to us, probably 110 volts. I understand these came from a pumping station. I don't know where the pumping station was. It was in England somewhere, as far as I know. And when I got the bulbs home, I checked with my little continuity tester to see that the filaments were joined. And yeah, they were joined, which was very, very nice. But some of them, by just testing, they're in their little wrapper. I just touched the meter on the pins on the base, and they didn't show anything. They were as if they were burnt out. Several of those. I thought, oh God, they're no good. So I took one of them out, and what was it? One of those, a real gem. So yes, I've still got them, and they're in my collection. It just shows you what can be done. Today, the chances of finding stuff like that, I would say, is pretty remote. With the advent of eBay, the advent of various groups dealing with old lamps, of course the price goes up. And the same can be said of old telephones. Yeah, I've collected old telephones. I've got some old pens that I picked up many, many years ago. Some fountain pens, some Parkers, Schaeffers, and they were only a few bob each. They weren't very dear. It was a little junk shop I know in North London somewhere. Don't ask me where it was. I think it was near the Lord's cricket ground. I certainly wasn't going to see the cricket, but as an inquisitive youngster as I was at the time, I would look at all the junk shops and antique shops. You never knew what you would find. Anyhow, this particular one had a load of old fountain pens, many of them still working. Some Swans, Conway Stewart, Parker, as I say, Schaefer, which had the snorkel, which if any of you remember that advert on TV, would you fill a fountain pen wearing silk gloves? And this girl was advertising the Schaefer snorkel. When this was, I reckon it's probably the 1950s. Someone will put me right on that one. Anyhow, I feel that I'm going off subject, so I'm going to stop. I'm going to put these two up. I've got many more bulbs that I can show you. Certainly many more neons from this country, America, Russia, you name it. I've got them. They were picked up at the right time. Now, alright, you're going to have a job getting them. If you do get them, you're going to have to pay through the nose for them. They're so expensive. The world's gone mad. Hey, just quickly before I do go, also going back in time, remember, now this is probably, well, I lived then at my old house, at my parents' house, so probably 60s. There was a shop in Croydon called Huggett's. It's a junk shop, well, it was mainly electrical junk, XWD stuff. And in there I bought, I bought a couple of beehives there, but before I bought the beehives I picked up 2 American lamps. They're neon lamps, the tip one. I can show you them in another video, but you know, it just shows you what in those days was available. Now all these shops have gone. I think Huggett's have gone years ago. I think the place has been turned into an office, or they've been turned into boutiques. Oh, there's so many places have changed. They've changed a lot. Anyhow, there's also another story about the lanes in Brighton where I picked a couple of old bulbs up. But that's another story for another time. Anyhow, thanks again for watching. I know I've been waffling on. I do love talking. So, thanks again. Any comments please make. And yeah, I'll put this up on YouTube. Thank you. Thanks for watching.